We had 4 children by the time I was 31, and I really wasn't keen on staying on the pill for another 20 years.
Instead of having her tubes tied, Kimberly Cranfield's doctor fitted her with an Essure coil,
Which was the latest and greatest form of birth control, which was supposed to be less invasive and less recovering time and better for your body.
The Essure coil is a tiny metal device that's inserted into the fallopian tubes. It's designed to create permanent scarring that prevents eggs from reaching the uterus.
Had you been given any warning about potential side effects or things that you maybe should be looking out for with this treatment?
Just a little bit of bleeding afterwards.
What did happen?
My worst nightmare. I couldn't leave the house. The hemorrhaging and the pain was so severe that I was living every hour on a toilet changing super pads and tampons. There was nights where you'd wake up where there was blood through the bed.
I just say, that's not normal. There's something seriously wrong.
I was a fit, healthy young mum who just had a normal life before this.
Looking back on it now, it was the worst option, and to be quite honest, I should have manned up and had the vasectomy and not put Kim through this terrible process.
The company behind the Essure coil is Bayer, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. The coil was on the Australian market between 1999 and 2017 when the Therapeutic Goods Administration issued a hazard alert for the device and recalled unused products.
We say that this device is conceptually flawed. It was a bad idea from the start. It's poorly designed, poorly conceived, and there was not sufficient testing done on this device before it was released to the Australian market.
Kylie Trounston from Slater & Gordon is representing around 1,000 women in a class action against Bayer and its associated companies. She says more than half her clients have had hysterectomies to remove the device.
It's important to remember that a lot of these women are still quite young when they're having hysterectomies, which means they're going into early menopause, and that brings with it some really serious risks that we've known about for a long time. Risks of osteoporosis, Parkinson's disease, cardiac failure and early death.
In 2020, Bayer settled a lawsuit brought against them by 39,000 American women for $2.4 billion Australian dollars, but said the settlement was not an admission of wrongdoing or liability.
$2.4 billion is large enough that we would say Bayer clearly felt at risk that they were going to be found liable for those American women's injuries. And there's been no settlement in the Australian proceeding, and Australian women are being pushed on to a lengthy and expensive 12-week trial in the Supreme Court.
Why are Australian women being treated any differently to the US women or the UK women or any other women around the world? We're all made up of the same anatomy.
Tanya suffered the ill effects of the coil for more than a decade before doctors finally identified the cause. She lives 2 hours by train from Melbourne, but every sitting day she makes the journey to court, often with her daughter.
I started getting a lot of pelvic pain, heavy menstrual bleeding, and also for me my hair started to fall out in handfuls.
I never knew anything about the device until not long before court started. So that's just been a real eye-opener for me to actually see what she's going through and how much of a brave face she's been putting on for our sake. We believe her, and that's why I'm here with her. She just needs the support.
Thank you.
In response to our inquiries, Bayer says it is confident that the evidence in this case will demonstrate the company is not responsible for the alleged injuries. Previously in court, Bayer has claimed women experienced problems because of unrelated medical conditions, or because they were implanted incorrectly. Kylie Trounston says her team strongly refutes that.
These women have been through so much and have been so wronged by a device that should never have been designed and should never have been put in a woman's body.
No one knows how many women are still living with the device because no agency keeps track of that information.
If your car had a faulty airbag, you would get a recall and they would chase you to the end of the earth to make sure that you came back into the dealer to get it fixed. These ladies have had devices inserted into their bodies which have caused toxicity issues and hemorrhaging and all sorts of other chronic issues.
I would like to see them stop the court case and stop the crazy goings on, treat us like human beings and come out and apologise and say, we did the wrong thing.
Wow, Georgie, it's a full-on story, isn't it? And hopefully there are women out there that see this, who have the coil and are like, wow, that is me. You're right, you do. If something goes wrong with your car, you get a recall. The fact that women are walking around with this in them, not knowing that that could be the cause of so many health issues, is terrifying.
And that was the case for so many of the women that we spoke to, especially Kimberly in particular. It's, of course, the physical toll that it had. She was talking about losing so much blood that there were times she would sit at the dinner table and she couldn't lift up her cutlery. She was so exhausted. But it's the emotional toll more so, thinking that she was the problem, not whatever was inside her. Hopefully we get a result of that soon.